Today we're taking a look at these CFB matches, which are happening on Saturday, October 15, 2022, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe and push that notification bell to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos. And if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. Multiple plans are available for each and every one of you. By becoming a member of the High Stakes Patreon, you will have access to our best team picks, total picks, parlay picks and much more. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting predictions that ends up costing you a lot of time and money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks. Going back to our video, we will give you 2 betting picks for each game, a team pick and a total pick based on facts and detailed explanation. So make sure to watch our videos till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. Kent State vs Toledo. I'm going to ride with the Toledo Rockets -9 in this matchup against Kent State. Toledo is scoring the 29th most points per game, and they have shown that they can move the ball on the ground and through the air. Both of these teams will continue to try and lean on the run, as this has been the easiest way for both of these offenses to consistently move the ball. Toledo is averaging the 38th most rushing yards per game, and the Golden Flashes are averaging the 28th most. The advantage comes on the defensive side of the field, though. Toledo is much better at slowing down the run, as I see them making enough stops to pull away and cover this spread, -9. I trust the Rocket secondary, as they will lock up on the outsides and load the box so that they can stop the run. This will kill the Kent State offense, as they won't score enough points to keep this game close. The Rockets are currently allowing the 65th least amount of points, and they have looked great on the offensive side of the field. Kent State has continued to struggle on the defensive side of the field, as they are giving up the 94th most rushing yards and the 93rd most points. They will allow the Rockets to move the ball through the air and on the ground, as Dequan Finn will have a big game in this one. Pick the Toledo Rockets and lay the points, -9. Toledo has a balanced passing and ground attack that lends itself to points. The Toledo Rockets rank at number 20 at points per game in the country, at 34 points. The Kent State Golden Flashes sit at 21 points. Removing blue-chip teams these MAC schools have played gets you more in the neighborhood of 30 to 35 points per game. These are high-yardage teams that allow 400-plus yards per game to their opponents. It's also a MAC shootout, and Kent State will be trying to show what they've learned in that tough schedule. I look to the Rockets' trends to understand what will happen. Over is 6-0 in the Rockets' last 6 games following an Austrian Shillings win, and over is 4-0 in the Rockets' last 4 games after scoring more than 40 points in their previous game, and over is 7-0 in Rockets' last 7 games following a straight-up win. With the maturation of the Toledo defense, who can now also score 1 or more touchdowns per game, watch for the score to be higher than usual in a competitive game. Our total pick is over 61.5 points. Arkansas vs BYU. Both teams have dealt with their fair share of injuries this season. Jefferson is dealing with a head injury that caused him to miss the loss against Mississippi State, but is expected to return here. BYU has dealt with issues with some of their top receiving targets in Gunnar Romney and Puka Nacua this season. That has pushed other guys like Roberts into the mix. BYU has a decent offensive attack, and they are a better defensive team than Arkansas. Sam Pittman's team has struggled to slow down opposing teams, as they've given up 89 points in their last 2 games, losses to Alabama and Mississippi State. BYU isn't at that level of offensive production, but they are at home, which means they are undervalued here. Take the points and the Cougars in this contest. Our team pick is Cougars plus 1.5 points. BYU has a strong passing game which will absolutely be contested by the Arkansas defense, especially with a defensive unit like Sanders. Sanders will pressure Hall in the pocket and force the BYU offense to stick with shorter, quick routes and utilize their run game more than they do, slowing down their overall offense. In addition, BYU will likely be without Roberts downfield, so Hall will have to more heavily rely on his other weapons. Arkansas runs the ball on 65% of their snaps, which isn't the most efficient way to get to the end zone, as it eats the clock quickly, and one poor run can turn a 1st and 10 into a 2nd and 14. BYU will be contested by edge rushers forcing shorter routes and more handoffs, while Arkansas will stick with their run game and eat at the clock. Our total pick is under 65.5 points. Maryland vs Indiana. Maryland let a potential win get away either from penalties and just plain mistakes. Sure, some were questionable calls, and that could get in their heads that they rank 120th in the nation, with 8.3 penalties per game. Indiana has to see this as a chance for a win along with Rutgers on the road next week. They would be on the road to a possible bowl game if they can get the upset. They played a strong first half against Michigan, and they'll score enough to take advantage of Maryland's weak pass defense, while covering the game with the potential to win it. Our team pick is Indiana plus 11.5 points. Maryland is unranked right now, but the Terps have had a strong season, and this team comes in at 4-2, with 2 losses to solid opponents in Purdue and Michigan. The team is coming off a disappointing home loss to Purdue last week, 31-29. The Terrapins are led by their starting quarterback Tolia Tagovailoa, who has a 74.1% completion percentage and 11 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions his year. Leah has dealt with some minor injuries, but he's still been able to lead the Terrapins with both his arm and legs. Neither of these teams have been impressive defensively, and both quarterbacks have shown they can move the ball. Tua has dealt with some minor injuries, but he looked healthy last week, and Maryland should be able to move the ball on a Hoosier defense that gave up 545 total yards of offense to Western Kentucky. Maryland's offense continues to be strong despite the loss last week against Purdue, and Tua should be able to put up good numbers once again. Bazelak has kept the Hoosiers competitive even in most of their losses this year, and at home against Maryland, he should be able to move the ball. Maryland's defense gave up 463 total yards of offense to Michigan, and Purdue was able to convert 8 of 13 third down opportunities against the Terrapins, while putting up 373 total yards last week. Both teams should have success moving the ball. Our total pick is over 61.5 points. NC State vs Syracuse. The North Carolina State Wolfpack has started this season strong, as their only loss has come from the Clemson Tigers. They took down Florida State last week, and they will be looking to carry that momentum over into this game. On offense, the Wolfpack is scoring 30.5 points per game and averaging 371.7 total yards. This is the 67th most points scored per game and the 91st most yards. They have struggled to move the ball against stronger teams this season, as they have been average on the ground and through the air. North Carolina State is currently averaging 230.7 passing yards per game, which is the 80th most in the country. Quarterback Devin Leary is listed as out on injury reports with an upper body injury, but keep an eye on his status right up to game time as that could change. Receiver Thayer Thomas is leading the team with 301 yards and 2 touchdowns. North Carolina State is also averaging 141 rushing yards per game, which is the 86th most in the nation. Watch for Demi Sumo Karngbe out of the backfield, as he leads the team with 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. He is also averaging 5.9 yards per carry. I'm going to ride with the North Carolina State Wolfpack plus 3.5 in this one, as I see this being a very close game. Syracuse has had very close games with their tougher opponents this season, and I see this being a low-scoring dogfight. There won't be many points scored in this game, which will allow the Wolfpack to keep this game within the plus 3.5 point spread. I understand that Syracuse is averaging the 23rd most points and 39th most yards, but they didn't impress me against Virginia or Purdue. The Wolfpack's defense looks legit to me, as they held their own against Clemson, Texas Tech, and Florida State. North Carolina State is only allowing the 16th least amount of points and the 17th least amount of yards. Their schedule has also been much more difficult, as I see them being more prepared for this tough game. One issue to watch is the status of Leary. But I see North Carolina State coming into this game with a ton of confidence. Syracuse's defense will give up some points, and this game will remain extremely close. Pick the North Carolina State Wolfpack and take the points, plus 3.5. Syracuse hosts North Carolina State in what should be a lively atmosphere under the dome. Whether or not the game will become an instant classic that propels the Orange ahead remains to be seen. The Cuse run the ball consistently between 30 and 40 times a game, averaging 190.2 rush yards. Running back Sean Tucker leads the ground game, 110 carries for 540 yards and 5 TDs, but QB Garrett Schrader also totes the rock often, 62 carries for 219 yards and 5 TDs. The Orange, averaging 38.4 points per contest, showcase 8 pass catchers with a receiving touchdown this season, as well. While there will be plenty of discussion surrounding North Carolina State's Leary and Syracuse's run game, the defenses could steal the show at the Carrier Dome. Both units are ranked in the top 25 in points allowed and total yards allowed per contest. This is certainly reflected in the low total, but I believe there's still room for the under to cover in this game. The under is 6-1 in Syracuse's last 7 home games and 4-1 in its last 5 against a team with a winning record. The visitors have not dominated offensively, even with their QB at full strength, and did not score more than 20 points in either of their last 2 games. Our total pick is under 42 points.